I'm wondering where my telephone is so that I can check. I don't really need it because
you live now.
I know. Hold on, you guys. Welcome. The host just left the station. No, I don't know what I did with my telephone, but it's okay because people generally call me when I'm on the phone, long as you, and I love to share it with as many people as I possibly can. Guess where my phone was? I was charging it. Hi, everybody. How are you? Happy Thursday. Today is the last Thursday in August, you guys. The last day of summer is this Sunday or Tuesday. When is the 30th? Whenever 31st. So you guys, time is flying. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm so excited to interview Mr. D.B. Bedford for more reasons than just one of which I'm going to share with you. But before we get started, I really want to ask if anybody is out there, can you hear us? Can you see us? I'm going to log on and turn my phone down at the same time so that if people call, I can't hear it. DB, did you check your Facebook Live? It's on? Yes, we are definitely on. I'm going to share, DB, just to make sure that we spread the love because we want as many people as possible to get blessed with the message that's about to come before you. And this is really about how do you empower yourself? Cheryl Grant shows up once a week to give you content that will help change your life. I'm in it to win it. So I want to make sure that I'm connecting you with people that can help you to be your most amazing self, to give you tips and tricks on how to navigate in this new world that we're living in. And trust me, we have some challenges before us, you guys. But the one thing I know about my people is that there is yet a challenge that we can't overcome. You can do anything when you put your mind to it. And we are not going to start now allowing anything to stop us from our greatness. So with that said, I want to go ahead and introduce the platform and apologize for my not so perfect. But then it wouldn't be real if it was always so perfect, right? It wouldn't be real. So I want to introduce the platform for those of you who continue to support me every week by showing up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for those of you who are new, welcome. This platform is really designed to really empower you. And I want to say that I want to thank my entire team because I couldn't do it without them. And I can't give enough credit. It really does take a village. But this platform was created because I wanted to highlight both the journey and the success stories of professionals and entrepreneurs of color. I wanted to explore all the important and necessary information that would help to guide them, inspire them, encourage them. And if they were aspiring business owners or professionals of color, I wanted to make sure we were there to support them. Here at SGI, we plan to equip them with specific concrete examples, tools, tips, and tricks that will lead them toward their own success, not only in business, but in life. The question beckons every Thursday when you chime in, are you ready to get fit? Are you ready to get fit? What is fit, Cheryl? What is this thing you keep calling fit? FIT is an acronym and it stands for faith, intuition, and tenacity. It's a play on words because I want to get you mentally fit because before you can get physically fit, you got to be here. And you can't go to the gym. You won't keep it up. The regiment won't be there. You won't eat right. The results that you're looking for, you won't get. But if you're mentally fit, there is not anything in the world that you cannot accomplish. So that's what we're here to do today. And so if you have a pen, please grab a pen and piece of paper. Tag somebody. Let's not do this alone. Let's educate and empower as many people as we can. And today we're definitely going to do that. I have the honor and the pleasure to introduce to you DB Bedford. And I will share my own, as I always do, about who DB is to Cheryl Grant. But before we do that, I'm going to read you a little bit of his bio. DB Bedford is the CEO and founder of I Never Worry Consulting, a company that specializes in emotional intelligence and trains staff and leadership on how to effectively manage their behavior and make better personal decisions to achieve positive results. Mr. Bedford is highly coveted public speaker and well-regarded author of 3 amazing books, such as I Never Worry, EI Secrets, and Black Intelligence. Mr. Bedford is known as one of the top experts in the field of emotional intelligence. One of the things that separates Mr. Bedford from his contemporaries is his empirical knowledge gained by growing up on the rough streets of Oakland, California, which is a community that is regularly listed as one of the most violent cities in America. As a result of this turbulent upbringing, Mr. Bedford ultimately learned how to use emotional intelligence to survive and navigate complex social situations. The authenticity of his background makes him uniquely qualified to administer this extremely multifaceted work. Mr. Bedford has accumulated over 20 years of professional experience and certifications in consulting and training, with an extensive background in criminal justice and crisis intervention. He has taught and trained staff at many of the world's top corporations and universities, such as Kaiser Permanente, Sutter Health, Arizona State University, Cal State East Bay, just to name a few. His training approach is revolutionary, and it will shift the paradigm of any company or individual that participates in his programs and trainings. DB enjoys playing poker, day trading stocks, traveling in his spare time, while enjoying the company of his beautiful wife and children. Please, wherever you are, stand up, raise your hands, raise your cup. Welcome, Mr. DB Bedford. Welcome, Mr. Bedford. Really welcome. But before you start, I want to say, I can't remember really in my mind's eye the first time that I met you, DB, but you were somebody who I have from the day one always admired and respected. A lot of people talk a good game and very few walk a good game. Sometimes our words and our steps don't align, but Mr. DB Bedford, that's not the case with you. You have personally reached out to help me, and help me from the understanding of how to build my platform and create content that really matters. And what was the operational efficiency that I was working with? First of all, there's not many people, DB, that will pay $5.99 in my community. There's people outside of my community, but when I talk about my community, I'm talking about those closest around me that are in my circle that support me the way you did. And for me, words mean everything. So when I say I have admiration, I have respect for you, just know that I do. And I really do mean welcome.
Feel that, yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. That's what's up. I don't really remember where we connected. I want to say I attended one of your events at Jeffries.
Yes.
I think that's the first time I seen you in action. And then I think social media might have, created the connection. And then once we had a conversation, then we just synergized, and then we've been on ever since. But that's how good energy aligns itself. You don't even really know the source. You just look up and y'all been rocking together, and it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe this is one of the questions I have to ask everybody who sits in this amazing seat that you're sitting across from me in the digital media world. But DB, what are you passionate about?
What am I passionate about?
Yes, what are you passionate about?
I'm very passionate about influencing folks to make better decisions in their lives, so that they have these aha moments and they start to feel better about whatever it is that they're doing. And that's been going on with me since I was in my late 20s, when I first got turned on to working with people. I didn't even know that there was a lot of power in working with folks. And the very first time I was actually in trouble, the very first time that I realized that I had this ability, right, to engage with folks in a way that they would be motivated and make a change or a decision in their life. And the very first time I did it, and somebody came back and showed me their level of appreciation, it was just like a new high for me. I was like, oh, this is the type of work that I want to do for the rest of my life, because it's priceless to help somebody shift the energy in their life, and then they look back to you and be like, thank you for that, I needed that. I mean, that money can't buy that. So I'm very passionate about growing a community of folks who feel the same way, so that we can spread that type of messages around. So that's what I'm passionate about.
Well, we need you. The world needs you. And when we talk about emotional intelligence, I think that people don't really understand, DB, the magnitude of impact that it has on their daily decisions. And a lot of times, I often say on this platform, they say that the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing but expect different results. And so I would just really like to use that as the stepping stone, if you will, to the conversation that we're about to have. And I would love for you, DB, to share with us your background, like what led you to being here. I mean, I know you just talked about what you're passionate about and what you love to do, but what is the one thing, DB, that led you to being here, your background? What, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it was, thank you for that. I think it was a series of things. I think when I look back, when I kind of, something I like to call reverse engineer, right? When I look back at how things kind of align themselves, it really started back in the courtroom.
And by the way, is your screen, do you show that you have frozen? Because on my screen, I show you have frozen, but I don't know. Is my, yeah, that's mine. It's just showing that. Keep
all right.
talking.
All right, am I still frozen?
Move your hand. Let me see your hand. Move your hand. No, you're fine. It's my screen then. So
Okay.
Go on.
So it's actually started in the courtroom. I've told this story often. I mean, a very short version is that, I made a very poor decision where I lost my temper to like the 10th power, and really tried to really take somebody out the game, and what happened is that I found myself in trouble.
He's given, but I can hear him. So can you see him? Because I'm moving. I can see me, but his screen is frozen. He's frozen, but I can still hear him. Oh, there you go, DB. You back. Okay, thanks, audience. That's what keeps going. Thank you.
I appreciate it. So the journey to emotional intelligence came from getting in a lot of trouble at an early age, being a hothead myself, having absolutely no EI, no pausing before I made decisions, no processing things, and going to the extreme, like a lot of people I know growing up. And that actually ended up being the same thing that made you laugh, made you cry, right? So the things that really caused me pain growing up, I got to a point where I started to leverage it to do things better and make better decisions. And like I said, when I started getting results in my own life by applying, just basically slowing down, not taking things personal, giving people passes and not letting it buck up against my ego, creating a vision for myself, things started to really lighten up for me. So we used to work for the Alameda County Probation Department. I went from being a 4-time felon to becoming an active peace officer with the county. And that happened through getting my record expunged through a judge that really looked out for me because he seen the value in me basically when I didn't see it in myself. And he gave me an opportunity to make some better choices, and I took advantage of that. And so basically, I went and worked for the probation department. In my tenure at the probation department, I became a department-wide trainer. During that process, and I was the compliance and standards supervisor, so I was in some training. And when I first heard the terminology emotional intelligence, as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's a very interesting. I was like, that's dope. I'm like, what's that? And so I started looking into it, And it was it was very intriguing to me. So after I did some research, the first thing I recognized that there was no people of color representing this term emotional intelligence. And so because I have a wide bandwidth of knowing cats from the block to a boardroom, I started asking everybody I knew, had they ever heard of the term? And they hadn't heard of it. And if they did, they couldn't really articulate what it meant. And so kind of just the type of person that I am, I always like to be first to market with something. And I realized that this was information that our community as a whole didn't have. Of course, it's available for everybody, but I was very focused on our community, not knowing it, because I know we are an emotional group. And so I'm like, I want to be able to teach this to folks. And that's how I got kind of involved. And I just started doing all my researching and studying and reading and creating my own program. And I started marketing myself. And around 2015, I wrote my first book, I Never Worry, and launched my first book release party on my birthday. Had a very good turnout. A lot of people showed up, and what motivated me to keep going was not because I knew people would come to my birthday party, and I know they would buy the book just because they wanted to support me. But it was the weeks after when people actually read the book. So it started to debunk that myth that Black people don't read, Black and brown people don't read. People were reading, they were reciting chapters, they were talking about how it was having an impact on them. And then that just kind of just fueled my fire, and I've been on ever since.
Oh my God. And emotional intelligence is such a powerful tool when applied. And it is like any tool that we use, it gets better with practice, right? The more that you use it, the more that you can start to apply. And I would just like to talk with you. Like right now, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of emotion, especially after the death. I mean, we've been dealing with it for 400 plus years as Black people and people of color. But I think George Floyd opened the door for the rest of the world to finally see the light. And although there are still those that question whether systemic racism exists or questions racism in general, we who are of color know it exists. We don't need to have that conversation. But more importantly, with you, DB, it's about how do we elevate the conversation? Because from my perspective, DB, this is the truth. I really believe that, again, going back to what I said earlier, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect different results. We as a people, in my opinion, have the power within our community to make the changes necessary, but they're emotional changes, and we're all over the map on what we believe and see. Do you have any anecdotal tools or suggestions, especially as we navigate the pandemic? And I know I'm saying a lot, but let me form my question. As we're navigating this pandemic and we have all these things coming at us, we have finances we're dealing with, we're trying to start companies, we're trying to take care of our kids, we're trying to manage our families while the world's dealing with that, especially Black people. And when you talk about Oakland, let's be more specific, East Oakland. And I hella love Oakland, and I'm unapologetic about it. But I want them to have the tools. What is your anecdotal recommendation to those, us, me? How do we navigate this craziness?
Well, first you got to believe that it's a real tool. I think that's where it starts. I think a lot of folks miss the opportunity because they don't believe that emotional intelligence is real. The second thing that has to happen is that a person would have to re-examine their belief system and what is it that they believe about how you handle emotions. Because a lot of people were not, including myself, were not really given an opportunity to explore, right, what emotions are. Most of us were not allowed to express ourselves in an emotional way growing up. A lot of people, I'm not saying that everybody, but a lot of people were told to sit down somewhere and their feelings didn't matter and you better hush your mouth like you something to cry about. And people don't really realize that it started way back then. right? So there, something that I commonly share is something that we inside our platform, we call your internal software. And your internal software is what we consider to be your beliefs, your values, and your life experiences. Your beliefs and your values and your life experiences, the combination of the three is what governs how you deliver information, how you receive information, like how you let it come in, and then how you process it. And the challenge for a lot of folks is that they haven't updated that internal software. And it's like, I always use an analogy, like, when your phone hits you up and be like, I got a software update, right? Or your computer be like, there's a software update. And if you're anything like me, it'd be like, you want to do it now or you want to do it later.
Right.
And what do most people do? They push later, right? And then what happens is that eventually your device starts tripping, right? Because it needs to get that update. And why does it want the update? Because it wants to make your phone the latest version of what it is so that it can operate at its optimum performance. Well, for our internal software, if you're not updating old beliefs, outdated values, and you still representing your past experiences, you are moving in today's time with an outdated version of your internal software. So when you ask the question, what could people do, without confusing it or making it heavy about all the multiple things that are coming our way, it's important to get centered yourself, update the latest version of yourself so that when you step out into the world, right, you are better prepared to handle whatever comes your way.
Wow.
And I think that's really where it starts, right? Taking a look at self, looking at your beliefs, your values, and your life experiences. Now pause after I give an example for someone who still hasn't caught on to what I'm saying. So a lot of us have a lot of old beliefs. So I know, like, for me growing up, I grew up in Brookfield. And so I had a belief that if you disrespect me or you say something slick, you catch a two-piece. That's just it. You get jumped, you catch a two-piece, we funking, we got problems, right? Because that's all I ever seen. That's what I knew. And if we didn't have a problem, then I had a problem, right? Because then my folks was going to sweat me. I was going to get this rep of being a sucker or a punk. So my belief was, you don't get away with saying nothing slick to me. That's an old belief. And I was in my 20s. That's how I got myself in so much trouble. At 48 years old, right? Imagine if I still had that old belief, if I hadn't updated it, because people still say something slick, people still talk about me, people still are disrespectful, all that. But if I was reacting like that today, right, what type of emotional turbulence would I be creating for myself? Had I not done the work and understood that that was governing me, right, I would always bite the hook and respond when people say things that I don't like. That's why we see people, and all of us know somebody that any little thing rubs them the wrong way, right? Any little thing they escalate and take it to the top is because somewhere along the way, that's what somebody taught them to do. And they have it and they don't even get it. It's hidden in plain sight. So people who get this work, people who understand emotional wellness, people who get the coaching, who get the training, are able to understand when something happens externally, they, instead of looking outside the window, they look in the mirror and they ask themselves, they don't say, this person pissed me off or that's rubbing me the wrong way. What they actually say is, why is this even bothering me in the first place? And so a long response to a short question. Yeah, if you're gonna be able to deal with these crises that are happening, this all the stuff, right? All the information overload, you got to be centered in a way where you're prepared to process whatever comes your way.
DB, oh my God, people, if you didn't just take that up, I don't know what to do. Water, but you can't make a drink. I'm just saying, this is such critical information for anybody. And I think for me, DB, what you just hit home with, And that's one of the things I love about what I do is because I get a chance to learn too. Is you said updating your internal software, your old belief systems, what applied for you when you were 10 doesn't apply for you when you're 20, when you're 40, when you're
Right.
50, when you're 60. And if you haven't updated those, then you're still reacting in a way that is getting you results that when you were younger are not getting you the results, and probably more of the latter, not getting you the results.
Right. Right.
And anything in life that we do, we have to really truly transition. And you just opened up so much. But one of the things that I find to be very interesting with that analogy, because it's simple, may not be easy, but it's simple. I mean, update, if I look at it, update your internal software. That's simple. Your belief system, outdated values, living in the past. How many of us operate that way? And now we're having this conversation and still don't make the shift and doesn't understand why they're not able to manifest the things that their heart truly desires. And I find that when let me use myself an example. Let me not speak for everybody else. If I'm walking down and I don't get the results that I want, then I turn inward and say, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, well, you weren't really built that way. And so I start this self-sabotage dialogue that we have. And it's not out where it comes out of my mouth, it be in my head. And you really do have to update all elements of the software and not one piece of it. Because if not, you'll continue to have that conversation. Do you agree with that analogy, or do you see that in your work with people? Or does everybody who takes I never worry, they just never worry?
I mean, if you come through one of my sessions, you're definitely, if you come with an open mind, if you come, ready to receive, just like with anything, there's no way you can leave me and not have a new perspective on life and get ready to take quantum leaps in whatever it is that you're doing. And so, yes, I do agree with it. The challenge is that when you're hearing it for the first time as an adult, that bucks up against your belief system, right? Because it's challenging what you've always done. How many times, to your point, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, not getting results, that's the definition of insanity. Well, where did that come from? It comes from, even though you're not getting the results, you have such a strong belief that this is the way it's supposed to be done because that's what was planted into you, right? That you can't, right? It's hard to see the picture when you sit inside the frame, right? So you won't even step outside the frame and consider that there's another way to do it because it's ingrained in you. And that is something that's hidden in plain sight, but that's what holds everybody back. It's the same thing, people with money, right? A lot of people have a horrible relationship with money, right? Because of how they were introduced to money. I know even for myself, right? It's been taking years. It's still taking time for me to get a better relationship with money. And here's my problem with money. Because I got in, and this is another real life example of internal software. The first time I got my hand on what I consider real money, I was 13 years old. Or 12, about to turn 13. I got $65 for my birthday. I took it right over to the dope man, right? And got me a package. I spent 50 and was able to double it up and kept the 15, the extra money in my pocket. And I went and I started selling drugs. From there, I could old school, double up, come up. This is how I learned about money. Now, if that's how you get introduced to money, where it's coming fast in and out like that, right? That's the way you value it. Well, that doesn't put a lot of value on it because that's not really how money usually comes when you become an adult, right? There's a kind of a brick and mortar approach, right? Even if you're an entrepreneur. But the spending habits that I created at such a young age, because when you grew up in a time that I grew up and when I started hustling, money flew like that. So when I started working and money was coming every 2 weeks, my spending habits that were still ingrained in me from, right, I was spending the same way. Even today, I don't necessarily have a better handle on it, but I don't I don't never like go in the store and wonder what stuff cost or I just not in a baller way, but more in a careless way. I should be mindful if I'm going to go somewhere, right, and do something. I should take into consideration what it's going to cost, but I don't. And I say that in a way to say that that's cost me, right? It's been expensive lessons to learn by not having an accounting space or a budgeting space because when I was so young, I was introduced to money from a different angle. I say all that to say, no matter where you are in life, relationships, right? Money, how you eat, if you watch sports, how you work out, all that stuff, right, comes from the core values that were created for you. And then when you got older, you learned some more stuff and you packed it on top of that. So you got a whole bunch of stuff inside of you that ain't been sorted out. It's like most of our desktop. We got hella folders on there. They got a bunch of stuff in there that we ain't sorted through, but guess what it's doing? It's holding space, right? On your device. You got a lot of pictures, double pictures, screenshots, all kinds of stuff in your phone that's holding space. So it is, whether you feel it or not, it is keeping you from being the best version of yourself until you start clearing that stuff out.
Oh my God, DB, you are so preaching to me right now. I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but I'm back here just my spirit. And I just want to say this is not meant to be a monologue. This is meant to be a dialogue. Ask questions. We have DB. His time is very valuable. You don't know how long it took me to get him here, but I got him here for you. And now you got to ask questions. So this conversation becomes richer when you engage with us and ask the questions. But DB, you just said so much. And I just really had this conversation with myself. Honest to goodness, I'm always, if you look, I have a library of just self-help books. Like every self-help book you could possibly think. I got to get I Never Worry in here. We'll make that happen after this. All these, I should be able to levitate right now. Like just close my eyes and start levitating. I can't do that, but I'm working on it.
Right.
Even with all of that, there are still these beliefs that I've had about my life that I've been playing over. I play them in my conversation, but I've even gotten slick with it. I don't say it the same way, but it's still the same package.
Mm-hmm.
Until I've let go, does the world outside of me change? Because I gotta clean it inner before it's gonna show up outer. And I think that's the power of what you're saying about emotional intelligence. It's hiding in plain sight. And I want to say to my people, if you're listening right now, this is an opportunity for us to upgrade our thought processes so we can create the world that we want. I think some people believe, I'm a firm believer that you can have the life you want. I'm a firm believer that, and within our community, we can do that right now. I'm a firm believer of that. Right. It's proven time and time again. Look at Black Wall Street. The examples are there. But until we start to change our internal clock, our internal conversation, as you say, our internal software, until we go in there and truly start to do the work, I won't say it's impossible, but I will say the challenge is far greater. And I think it's more instantaneous, that it can happen a lot sooner. That's my belief.
I mean, at the end of the day, I said earlier, I'm like, we spend more time looking out the window than we do looking in the mirror. It is much easier to sit in the stands and commentate on what everybody else is not doing or could be doing and things of that nature than to really take a look at ourselves. And so most people, that's therapy for them, right? To just be able to just focus on everybody else and not focus on themselves. Because let's just keep it real. It's not easy to look at yourself and be like, you know what? You're not cutting it. You know what? You don't got the skills that you think you got. You know what? You're not as healthy as you think you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so before you can get to the deep shadow work, you go, you know what? I'm going to go pay attention to somebody else over there. So that's what makes it challenging for all of us. And it's an ongoing process. But at the end of the day, you got to be committed and you got to be willing to do it. You got to put, that's why I said earlier, you got to believe in this. So if you believe in it, then it helps you work on it, even if it's in small bite-sized pieces. How does EI come into play? What was that last thing?
Here goes the Hawk Vision podcast.
Oh, Chuck, my guy. Yeah. How does EI come into play when networking as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
So there's a lot of different angles you can say with that. I think it comes into play when you understand that emotional currency, right? When you understand that social capital, when you understand that the energy amongst people is real, and when you are leading with good energy, you're going to attract the type of people that can you can be resourceful to. I get up every day understanding that I'm always just one conversation away from changing the trajectory of my life. You never know who you're going to connect with that could crack a door, right? An opportunity, shed some light, give you a new perspective, or give you the type of love or the type of energy that you haven't felt before that inspires you to be a better version of yourself. So I just saying when you living in this EI world, right, you are open and you understand that the possibilities are always endless.
Well, I want to say to everybody, I need you to sign up for DB's class. I really believe in the power of what he's speaking to. And the only way that we can grow is we have to learn. And learning comes with developing new habits, new patterns. And I'm saying it differently, but DB said it in the most simplistic terms, and that is your internal software. DB, I get this a lot with people who say, I want to work out. Cheryl, come work out with me. But I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do that. And no, I'm not eating that. And girl, I ain't giving that up. And I was like, okay, so here's the thing. If you want the results, you got to do the work. There's
Right.
an easy road to this.
So
But
let's pause right there. So
yeah,
then what is a person's experience with hard work? Right? What is their belief about pushing up against yourself and pushing yourself? See, they have a fear on the other side, what it's going to take to get there. So it's easier to be like, I'm not going to do that. Because you know what they got a fear of? A failure. What if I can't do it? What if I can't do it and then you shame me? You look at me differently. Because remember, getting old school capped on and you know what I'm saying, not being favored, like all that start coming to play. So the inner child in him was like, I don't want to try that, right? Because if I don't make it, if I don't do what I said I can do, then how are you going to feel about me? So I'm very more concerned about that than putting my head down and getting a result. So I'm more concerned about that than actually what I'm going to look like, how I'm going to feel if I actually do the work. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
right. So Alicia Mayo says, tonight's talk is valuable. Thank you for sharing this. I work on me first before I try for others. DB's framework seems to be from the inside out. And it definitely is. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. That's right, Alicia, from the inside out.
From the inside out. And I got some other questions that's coming up that I'm going to repost again. But DB, one thing you said about fear, well, that's the one thing that holds a lot of us back. But fear, as we all know, is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. DB, when you became an entrepreneur, and in your bio, I read further that, a matter of fact, one of the things you had a quote that just, I'm going to copy that, okay? I'm just telling you right now.
I probably got it from somewhere. Which one is it?
And I'm going to let you say it, but I'm going to paraphrase it. Something about a bird on a limb. So,
oh, yeah. So because I'm like you, I'm a connoisseur of information. I got so many books as well. I do not remember where I get all this stuff from, right? I just put it together. So I always go, old wise man once said, right? So I'm giving somebody credit for it. So when we talk about
in the wise man said,
yeah, old wise man once said. So we talk about fear, we talk about doubt, cause like so for me, working for the probation department for 16 years, that was my dream job. I loved that career. When I was about to leave there, people was like, whoa, like, man, what are you gonna do? Like you can't leave, it's too early, right? What are you gonna do, right? And that's when this quote came to mind, and it says that a bird is never concerned about the branch that it lands on, because the bird is never concerned about the branch. His faith is not in the branch, it's in his wings. And what that actually means is that a bird flies freely and lands wherever. It's not concerned if the branch breaks, because it knows it's not going to hit the ground. He might fall down a little bit, but he just, them wings is going to rise him back up. And he's very confident with that. So how do you apply that to life? Well, when you believe in yourself, you have an unwavering belief of yourself, then there's no fear of failure, because you know that you're not going to crash and burn, because you are not going to allow yourself to crash and burn. Now, the lighter version of that, right? You got to be willing to catch a little pain, right? Like you got to be willing to, you know what I'm saying, to catch a fade. It's like stepping into a fight. You gonna get hit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to happen, right? You not, you know what I'm saying? Very few people got the Mayweather effect where you can just, well, you got to get in there and get it. And so if you just go ahead and embrace, right, that I'm going to get some scars along the way. I'm going to get cut. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to have a relationship, but it's not going to work out. I'm going to have money and I'm going to lose money. I'm going to start a business. And like I live with that type of mentality so that I don't, one of my biggest fears is getting to the end of life and then looking back, talking about, I wish I could have, wish I should have, would have, had her, right? And everything, to your point, we can attract and manifest if you just lock in on it. I give a light example, then I'll pause and pass the mic. I tell people, imagine you, so say you're in Oakland, right? And you needed to get to Fremont. So I'm gonna give it a nice stretch, something to think about, right? And so you start walking, right? Start walking, you're like, damn, it's a long way to Fremont. But the reality of it is, if you keep walking, you're gonna get there. I mean, that's just a fact. If you don't stop, now, it may take you a couple of days, might take you a couple of hours, but you're gonna get there. But if you get distracted along the way, right? You let somebody come pick you up and turn you the other way, right? If you get to wandering, if you turn down a different block, you're not going to get there. That is the same thing with everything our hearts desire. And I tell people this, and people, they have a hard time accepting this. You have gotten everything in life that you really wanted. Everything you ever got, everything in life you ever really wanted, you've gotten it. The only time you didn't get it is because you stopped going for it. When people look around where they are right now, everything that you have, you wanted it and you stopped at nothing to get it. The things you do not have yet is because you have stopped. You got distracted. You got discouraged. You stopped believing. So you're not going to get it. You want to be a millionaire? Keep stacking. You will become one. Keep growing. You'll become one. But if you don't ever believe that's because a lot of people, they like the idea of having money and being a millionaire or being a successful entrepreneur, but they don't really believe it. They don't really believe it.
They want to do the work, and maybe those are one and the same.
Well,
like they don't want to take the walk.
They might be. They would take the walk if they believed they would get there. See, if somebody would say, "I'm not walking to Fremont, I'll never get there," that's not a true statement. It's going to take you longer, but you're going to get there. And if you walk in the right direction, halfway on the journey, somebody might pick you up and give you a ride the rest of the way. We'll pull up on you, be like, "Where you going?" "Man, I'm headed to Fremont." "Me too." Hop in. So, but you never would have caught that ride, right? Because they got off halfway. They never, the beginning part, the first part of it, they didn't go that way. But once you cross a certain way, so you want to be intentional about the momentum in your life, gaining momentum. And so emotional intelligence, emotional wellness gives you a fair opportunity, right, to be in those spaces, because you get up every day feeling good about yourself. See, when you subscribe to what I subscribe to, you get up every day and you make my intention every day is make the best day ever. Right. Today I had a dope ass day, and tomorrow is going to be even better. Right. Because I am clearing my path, and I'm not afraid, back to the emotion of fear, of what might happen. Why? Because I know I have the skills to process. So that's death, that's bad news, that's disappointment, that's it. Whatever it is, I am prepared, right, to process it, right, through these skills that I've learned and a time tested, mother approved. So when you got the type of confidence, my faith is not in a branch, it's in my wings.
Woo, DB. Oh my
It's the
goodness.
microphone. It's the microphone got me juiced over here.
Is that a Yeti? I'm gonna have to talk to you, DB. For more than just one reason, D. I didn't shorten your name. I didn't take the B off. D. Look,
You tried to expand it earlier.
DB, here goes the thing. You said so much in that, and especially about faith, because my platform is all about being mentally fit, and that starts with faith. And faith is something that I think a lot of people want to put in a religious bucket, and I'm okay with that. If that's where you want to put it, I am a true spiritual being, and I believe in faith in every essence of my being. But faith is a very funny thing. In terms of we might have faith in some things and not so much in others, but the greatest faith you can ever have is the faith and belief in yourself and in your capabilities. My mentor is Les Brown, as many of you already know, and I've been working with Les since 2006. I mean, I've traveled the country with him. I've spent time with him, and he told me in 2006, he said, Cheryl Grant, you have a gift. You have the gift of encouragement. He said, go jump off the cliff. And I looked at him like he was crazy, DB. Like he said, you will develop your wings on the way down. So when you talked about wings, having faith in the wings, and I'm going to tell you, I've been on this journey. I officially launched my company in 2006. I didn't actually jump to 2017. Mm-hmm. In 2017, I want to tell you what we're doing here and the work that we do. And when I know I'm touching people's lives, when they're calling me and they're texting me, then I know I'm on the right path. But I will also say there are those days. And one of the things you just gave me was the most powerful tool of them all. And that's the analogy of Fremont. Like it's still there. Yeah. To get up every day and do what needs to be done. And how do you spend your day? Like DB, you know, we talk about taking an inventory of our internal clock, but how do we spend our day? If you clock the time that you're on social media, look at other people's lives, how much do you take time to make sure you're building yours? And what's your dream? We're often looking out the window, like you said, being a spectator instead of being a player in our own lives. And I think we're in a time such as now where it's really about getting off the fence and stepping into life with the belief that you can. The glass is, you can either look at it as being half full or half empty. And somebody once told me, well, if it's half full, fill it up. Like, you know, put more water in it. So it's all in your perspective.
Yeah, one thing that I want to add to that, because this is going to be another one of those ones, right? And this will sting a little bit for some folks, right? And it's this actually, for me, I end up with the same challenge, right? We play ourselves small. And the reason being is because in our community in particular, if you try to play it big, people say you're doing too much.
Ooh,
you think you all that, right? So that's one reason why people be like, well, let me just fade to black. When you coming up in the streets, you play it too big, then the hyena's gonna be at you. You can end up in jail. You can end up dead. So I don't want you to think about that for a second, depending on how you were raised and what you've seen. So where were we encouraged? And even your parents will tell you to sit your little butt down somewhere. And if you try to dream too big around people, they're like, you tripping. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that, right? So this is what's downloaded into us. So the reason why people, back to even the people who you're working with or trying to encourage to work with you, reason why the small goal of getting in shape, right? Because they actually have a fear of looking better, right? Being on a higher vibration, because subliminally they don't realize that there's something telling them like you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to live out loud. You're not supposed to be happy out loud, right? So that also holds folks back. And so if anybody catches this now on a replay or later on down the line, if you struggling in any way with anything in any area of your life, I strongly encourage you, right? Identify what it is that you're struggling with. And I want you to go back and ask yourself, right? Where did you learn, right, to play yourself small around this subject matter, right? Who told you you couldn't do that, right? Why do you feel this way? Somebody says something to me, right? And if I turn my face up and be like, why did that bother me? Right? What was I taught about if somebody challenges me? Right? And so this is how you can have a better relationship with your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend. You can have a better relationship with your children. How many times a lot of us raised our children, right? Very similar to the way that we were raised, right? And I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but think about how easily we pass on things that were downloaded into us without revisiting them to see if it's still applicable, And I'm gonna pause with this one, but I was telling this the other day. So, like my grandmother, right? She's passed away, but I love her to death, right? But I want you to think about this for a second. When I used to get in trouble back at my granny house, my grandmother, and a lot of people experience this, would tell me to go outside and grab a switch, right? And if I brought that switch in, it wasn't big enough, she made me go get one that was big enough, right? And then she would lay me across her lap, lock me in with her legs to give me a spanking with this switch based on whatever I did. Now, a lot of people will, yeah, that's what big mother, yeah, I get it. But I want to ask you something. What was that teaching me? Right? What that taught me is that if somebody does something that I don't like, inflict pain to get compliance. You can couch it however you want. That's what's wrong with the kids today or whatever. But I'm telling you, a lot of it starts there. And so since I can't take it out on my granny, since I can't take it out on my parents, when I come of age, where do I take it out on? Where does it come out at? And a lot of people who hear this later are going to think about that and be like, I know, like my verbal assault that I do, my physical way I handle comes from how I was treated and I couldn't process it then, right? So it comes out later. And this is just very, very important. And that is a lot of examples of things that we do, behaviors that we have that we haven't. The bottom line is we haven't revisited. Everybody need to take an inventory of how you're making decisions. Where did you learn it from? You said earlier about results. If you're getting good results, we want you to keep doing that. But things that you are struggling with, if your money ain't flowing, what's your relationship with money? Right? What's your belief around money? If your relationship internally, your romantic relationship is not working, what is your belief around relationships? Like you just got to start sourcing back how you're handling things. And trust me, it will free you in a long game. It's that shadow work that a lot of us avoid.
Wow. Oh my God, DB.
I'm gonna be quiet now. I've been running my mouth.
That is exactly why I wanted you on here. And for those who listen to it now or later, emotional intelligence is a very real thing. And the sooner that we can get it under control in our own lives, the sooner we'll start to manifest the things that we want to see. I'm a firm believer in that. And you have just given me some tools, even with myself and my frustration, because I'm at F and I want to be at Z, and Z not coming soon enough, even though I'm doing all the work and I'm doing I want to be at Z. So I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing. I want to thank you for being willing at a time when you are at the height of your career, no matter what you were doing, you could have continued to do that, but you leveraged your learning and applied it and stepped out on faith and haven't looked back. And I want to thank you, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to give up. And I want to say to you, entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. There's a different, entrepreneurs move a little differently, and they have to in order to continue to survive. And the thing that I'm going to say to you out there, if you're listening right now, this information is valuable. Go take DB's class. One of the greatest things you can ever invest in. I am all about fashion. I love dressing up. I love makeup, hair. I love nails done, hair done. I love all of that. At the same time, I invest in myself. I'm reading X number of books per month. And I'm not going to say reading, because I'm really not one that's going to sit there and read the book. I do audio. It's much easier for me. And it's easier for me to still get the information in, take notes while I'm moving around the house, and not just listening to music, or not just on social media, listening to social media. Invest in yourself. And DB's course is a way that you can do that to start to transform. And one of the things you also said, DB, was emotional currency. And I really believe that we are in what I call community is a new currency. And it's about bringing community together, like I'm bringing you to do this work for our community, to uplift them. And when you start to apply it, you will see results. I'm not here to feed you guys sugar and a pipe dream, mirrors and a pipe dream. If you want that, you can go to the media. I'm not even going to call them out. You can get that. But if you want real life experiences, these are real people who are doing things. They're not talking about it. It's not far reachable. Fremont's right around the corner, you guys. Fremont's right around the corner. And even though it's far in distance and walking, you can still do it. So DB, I couldn't thank you enough. One of the things that always happens, and I say it every week, and I'm going to say it with you and make no exception. One of the things I love is I learn so much. The thing that I like the least is time just flies. And we're in the flow of the conversation. So DB, I want to ask you a question right now as we get closer to the hour. DB, how can we support you? And by the way, before you start, Sean Kennedy, you my man. You know that. You know this. I was working with Sean back in the day. He had me on the camera, and who's Oakland. I know.
Yeah, that's my guy. 25 years plus. So Sean Kenny, SK. That's my guy. And I want to send some love back to Alicia and Paula, who've been cheering me on the whole time. I do not take that lightly. I appreciate that. In response to the question, how could one support me?
Yes.
I was taught growing up in the streets that the more people pushing the wagon, the harder it's going to roll. I want this message of emotional wellness out and everywhere. So just share, tell people about your experience here today. Join the emotional wellness program. It's called the 30 Days to Emotional Wellness. It's on my website, ineverworry.com. When you go there, just scroll down a little bit and you'll see it. What's so cool about this program, from the day you sign up, for the 30 days following, you're going to get one coaching video from me every single day. That's going to tell you one particular emotional intelligence strategy, right? Now, here's the thing that's so cool about it. It's going to take you 5 minutes or less. So I don't want to hear that you don't have time. I did that intentionally. I'm going to give you a strategy. So today we might talk about emotional capacity. Right. And I'm gonna define it. I'm gonna show you how it applies in real life. And then I'm gonna let you marinate on it for 24 hours. I want you to look at it in yourself, look at it around the people you love. And then you come back the next day and we're gonna stack something else on top of it. So by the end of the 30 days, you are in a rhythm, right, of picking up new nuggets every single day. Only took you 5 minutes. It's a little quiz after each one. So make sure you heard what you heard. Has a digital workbook that comes with it. Plus, while you're in the program, I have this what we call lunch and learns. So once a week, I do a lunch and learn on a Zoom call, so you could tap in and we could talk about what you're going through. So you cannot miss if you have a desire to upgrade your internal software. And so just go to ineverworry.com, tap in, get started. But most importantly, if you're loving what you're hearing, if you feel the vibe, put it in your tribe. You know what I mean? And that's just really where we're at with it.
Oh my God, DB, you are absolutely amazing. I
Right on, fam.
know that God has greater work for us to do together, so I'm not letting go. You already know.
For sure.
That I want to say is I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to answer it. I'm just going to ask you. I don't want you to answer it. I'm
Okay.
going to summarize some things that I need to share with the group. But if you could leave the audience with one thing, what would that be? Hold that. Hold that thought. And I want to say to everybody, I have to take time on every show to acknowledge my team. When I say teamwork make the dream work, I am so awesomely blessed to have Fit for the Future, which is a community of the next generation. That's why they call Fit for the Future. That I take to, through my program. DB, I might need to talk to you about co-collaborating. It's a residency program. And I bring them in and give them a wealth of information as well as tap them into a community where they can expand to become the entrepreneur they want to be, or either they can become go up the corporate ladder, whatever it is that they desire. The program is designed to help them to get there. And my team is the one who puts it together. They help me monitor it. Not only that, I have these people, they have full-time jobs, but they show up for me to do work, and I cannot thank them enough. Zai Warren, she does my newsletters. She does my blogs. John Tay Grant does all my branding. All this you see here, that's across all my platforms. And they're all for hire, by the way, just so that you know. They're all for hire. I have Jazz Collin. Jazz helped me with the Fit for the Future residency program. Her and Ebony. I have Creighton. I have Andrew Stanley. I have Teresa Wyatt Sonley Wyatt. I have Dejan Grant. That's just a miniature list of the people that help me. If I begin to name everybody, we will just be here forever. But I want to say to them, thank you. I want to say to my community, I really need your support. My goal is to reach 50 million women, and I cannot do it alone. I show up every week, and I have been since 2017. I've been showing up, you guys. I've been showing up and delivering. I've not asked for nothing. And when I showcase these individuals, I'm here to support them. I'm true to the game. I'm true to the game. I'm not new to it, but I'm and I just want to say I'm here to support my community. I sit on the board for the African American Chamber of Commerce as vice chair. It's one of the most rewarding jobs that I do. I believe in my community. And I also sit on the Giving Back board. I need you to invest in me. And what does that mean? Like my YouTube. It's no cost to you. Follow me on Instagram. It's no cost to you. We have a series of programs that we're about to roll out. Those won't be for free. Those won't be for free. I am an entrepreneur, and I too have to generate revenue. But I can tell you this, the programs that we're about to bring to you will be new, and they will be inviting and exciting, and you will definitely not want to miss out. So stay tuned for those. As you know, we also do these mini challenges. And the challenges that I put together are truly there to help inspire you wherever you are. Your goal doesn't have to do Miss Olympia like I did, but it could be stay in shape. And I do encourage us as we get older, we have to take care of our physical bodies because it's one of our greatest tools. So please join me on these challenges. You can do them at home. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a mini challenge. You might have to, if I say 100 sit-ups and you could do two, do two. Because one of the about doing too. It's like when DB talked about going to Fremont. The more you do, the more you build that muscle, the stronger it gets. And before you know it, you'll be able to do 20. Before you know it, you'll be able to do 25. Before you know it, you'll be looking in the mirror talking about, thank you, Cheryl Grant. I'm just saying, I say so that said, thank you again for being here. DB, I need you. I need you to take it away. Tell them. So the question is, to leave them with one piece of advice, what would that be?
One piece of advice would be to always remember that when emotions are high, logic is usually low. So you find yourself in an emotional situation, remember that the logic connected to it is probably low. And if you understand that, you'll be wise about how you engage in any particular situation. So always remember, when emotions are high, logic tends to be low.
Oh my God. DB Bedford, you are everything. You are everything. I want to again thank you, DB, and know that I got you, and anything I can do to support you and promote you, I will always do that. I want to
Appreciate
thank you for tuning in. Next week, we'll be back here live. I have some amazing guests lined up for you. We are booked out and continue to book the schedule throughout the end of the year. If you know somebody who you think should be on the platform, go ahead and go to my website, www.cherylgrant.com. And you can fill out a form, recommend them, and my team will do the due diligence to see if we can get them on board. A process. So you got to follow the process to get on board. DB knows the process. And it keeps us straight. So DB, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You were amazing. Keep shining. In corporate America, you need him. Bring him.
Come get me. Come get me.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Take care, everybody. God bless.
Peace.